Hello, everyone, and as always, welcome back to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games, the best of them all, Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. This is our play by email challenge with our good friend Lodric, and if you missed it, after, I guess it was episode 18.1, which was our combat resolution for January 6th and 7th, I posted right below that Lodric's setup. So the Japanese setup first for January 8th. You can see here it's January 8th, 1942. So I posted Lodric's setup. Now I'm not watching those. I'm literally posting the link. So you can go watch them if you want to and see what Lodrix is up to. And I did watch, just the intro as far as just to just to hear what Lodrix sounded like, honestly. And he sounded good, and he's a very good player, so I assume he's going to explain things well or why he's doing things. I don't want to see that, of course. It would ruin the game for me. I'm not on this to be like, oh, I'm going to win or something. Of course I'm going to try to win, but I'd like to do it the right way. So anyway, if you want to go check that out, there is a link in the previous video. I will also put it below this video so you can see what I'm doing on the setup. I'm going to try to focus on just, quadrants of the map. I don't know how Lodric's going to do it, but I thought maybe you'd find that interesting. All right, let's jump into it. It's January 8th. 1942. I'm down here right now. I've already set up quite a bit of my turn, but I'm down here by Australia. I've actually already done what I wanted to do here, but I wanted to talk about something that's very important in this game, and that is you can remember Lodric's big carrier task force just basically did a parade down the eastern side of Australia, and there's just nothing we could do about it. We had to move ships, evacuate ships around to Adelaide, Melbourne, down to New Zealand. We had to get them out of here because we have no air cover, or had no air cover, and I guess we still don't, except if you see here on the group reinforcement schedule, and I've mentioned this before, but I wanted to mention it again. Next turn in 2 days, we will be getting 25 Warhawks. Those are fighters that we can run cap in Australia. Those are coming in at Brisbane, and you see in 2 turns, in 4 days, we get another 50 total. That's very, very helpful. We can do a few things with these. We could either, just leave them in Brisbane here. I don't know that that necessarily makes sense to have 75 fighters at Brisbane. You don't even have that much aviation support. What I'll do is break them up. We'll probably leave 25 at Brisbane, put 25 in Sydney, and put 25 in Townsville. And then you've finally got some air cover, and you could move your ships back around to those major ports. Why do I say that? Well, as it was, if his carrier is down here, let's say off of Sydney, we don't have anything that can protect that. I mean, obviously, we don't have Australian carriers, but the American carriers aren't over here either. And so we also didn't have any fighters that can go up. I mean, very, very few. We've got some in Darwin, but that's about it. We just didn't have fighters to protect those ships. And so he can come in with his bombers, his torpedo bombers, completely unmolested, and just bomb the crud out of whatever we have on the surface. So now with 25, 25, and 25, we can run cap over these areas, meaning we can have ships in those ports and protect them. Can we completely protect them? Well, of course not. You can't even do that if you've got 10 aircraft carriers over here. If he runs enough aircraft at it, he can, maybe get through your screen. But 25, 25, and 25 is going to be super helpful. So next turn, we'll be bringing those into Brisbane. What else can we do? Oh, boy. What else can we do in the air war? Well, one other thing that we received earlier in the game are these American dive bombers. So they're A-24 Banshees. They showed up, I believe they were also at Brisbane originally. I moved them over here, kind of to the southwestern part of the southeastern part of Australia to protect them, because obviously they're not going to get up and fight against Zeros or fighter aircraft. They're dive bombers. And so I moved them over here. And another reason I did that is because look at their experience. Average experience 32. If we look at their pilots, yeah, that's not good. Now we're trying to train them up. That would be naval bombing, naval attack. That's what we're trying to train them. And as you can see, they're going, they're getting green. When you see this green, it means that it increased last turn. And so that's going up, at least for the majority of them. One or two of them, it looks like it went down. But we're trying to build this up, this naval bombing. And if you look up here, this is kind of the average. They've got 32 average experience, 24 average naval bombing. So if you ever go down here, you can look at pilots. You can, release pilots as they gain experience in certain things, put them back in the pool, whichever pool you would like. And so anyway, we've got, you may say, well, that's only 5 dive bombers. What's that going to do? Well, not a whole lot, but down in Adelaide, we have more. We have 13 here plus 3 in reserve, another 12, so that's 25 plus another 13 and 3 in reserve. I'm no mathematician, but I believe that's what, 38 plus 6 in reserve, 44 plus the other 5. Essentially, we've got 50 dive bombers. And so that's great because what we'll do is pair each one of these with one of the fighter squadrons, and that way they're protected. The reason you got to pull him over here is if he brings in zeros, he's just going to bomb these guys either on the airfield, or if they do happen to be up in the air, they're going to get ripped apart. And so you've got to protect them with escorts, meaning fighters. And so these dive bombers, as we get the fighters next time in Brisbane, I'll probably just leave that squadron there. We'll just transfer one of the 13 groups or squadrons of dive bombers over here, put him on naval attack, and if he tries that again, we can protect Brisbane from his attacks. We can also go out and escort our dive bombers into his carriers. And so, it's very important. Those early dive bombers that you get, they're kind of, I don't want to say worthless. I mean, but sort of. I mean, offensively, they kind of are at the start because your pilots have no experience and they have no escorts. And so you move them over here. I think originally I had them at Wagga Wagga, and then I just thought, it's a little too close. He could even go inland and get them there. So I moved them all over here into 2 different locations because of aviation support. And then I'll move them back out to the coast as we get the fighters. So those fighters you get in are very important. And then in a couple of weeks, I believe we get 75 more, 25, 25, and 25. So that's awesome. All right, let's just start in Port Augusta while we're over here. We've got the aforementioned dive bombers. I've also got quite a few level bombers over here and some transports. Now, the transports, they've got no experience. If we look at the pilots, yeah, I mean, they need to train up their transport. And you can see transport here is going green. At least transport's up to a 35, but their average experience is 28. We've got them training on transport. I've got this at 6,000. That's probably fine. That's how we run them in China, and so 6,000, okay. Maximum range 0. These other level bombers, it looks like we've got 8 in this group. We've got 6 in this group. 8 in this group. I've got them over here. They've all got, around 50 experience. At least those do. This got 47. This has actually got 61, but these are the big B-17s. I mean, we're not doing anything with these. And so they're just sitting over here training because ultimately you aren't going to be using B-17 bombers in January of 42. Now, a little bit later on, assuming all is well, if he does take Moresby, or even if he's still just in Rabaul, we can move these up here to one of the bigger airfields around here and start bombing out here if we want. I mean, it's an option, right? We could also eventually have them in Darwin and start bombing out here into the Dutch East Indies as he takes those. I mean, they've got a massive range, right? So I mean, we could get all the way up to Borneo. Hell, we can probably get up to the Philippines, just depending on their range. But they've got big. You can see. I mean, their maximum range is way out here if we look at it. Um, you know, its extended radius is 22 hexes, so you can go a long, long ways. I've got those training on ground attack, at least those guys. Looks like those guys I do as well, and these guys. Okay, I'm doing a lot of ground attack. I probably, so we've got 3, 8, 6, 8. Let's take the 6 group and let's train them on airfield, and let's do the three group. This group, let's have them do port. All right, so we've got two that are, can bomb ground troops. We've got a few that can do the port. We've got a few that can do the airfields. So we've got a decent mix there. Okay, what else do we have up here? No ships in port, nothing else going on in Port Augusta. Seduna, that is just a base force. We've got a force coming down here. That is ticketed for Melbourne. It's on a strategic move down the rail, heading for Melbourne. It's got 27 assault strength. Originally, I was sending that up to Darwin, and then I thought better of it. I thought, let's get some more stuff back here. I've also got this nice cavalry brigade, the 2nd Australian Cavalry Brigade, 116 on that. Strategic move, I've got that set for Brisbane. So we're going to try to build this up out here. If we lose Darwin, well, so be it. I mean, he's playing really well, so he's going to have a real shot at taking Darwin. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we would hate to lose Darwin, but you can't lose Brisbane, Sydney, or Melbourne because you're protecting Darwin. It just isn't as important. I mean, if he takes Darwin, where does he go next? I mean, arguably Port Moresby's in a better position to take on Australia, even though Darwin's in Australia. So we're going to bring some of this stuff down. If we look out here at Alice Springs, we've got one more group, and I've got this set for Brisbane as well. It's another one of these motorized 3rd Motor Brigade, and that's also going to Brisbane. So we're going to build up Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, Townsville, and a little bit Rockhampton. Those are the four. You kind of got to pick when it comes to the Australians. They don't have enough to protect everything to the nth degree. Now, we do have Perth rather built up. It's got a full division over there, so that's looking good. All right, let's go down to Adelaide where we hit a bunch of our ships. We already talked about the dive bombers. They are training. All naval attack for the dive bombers. Great. We've got these surface ships, the Canberra, the Achilles, the Perth, the Adelaide, and the Boise. So we got one American in here and a bunch of Australian ships. I've actually got those coming back around to Sydney. By the time they get here, the fighters should be over the top. But I'll tell you what, I've actually rethought that. I'm going to put them in Melbourne. Um, I don't. We're not doing anything offensive with them yet. Now they may get over to Melbourne, and I'll just say, okay, now I'm going to take them to Sydney. Okay, now I'm going to take them to Brisbane. But I'm just going to kind of hop them along here and see how things develop. Now in Adelaide, you can see we've got the 17th MG Battalion. This is really it in Adelaide. Like I said, you got to pick your spots. Now, the Japanese would have to come all the way around here and support this logistically. So if you're thinking of a place that's a major, level 5 or above port or level 4 or above port, Adelaide's the one you probably leave the least amount in, and that's where you go hide as well. Least amount of infantry anyway. We've got a task force coming out to Kangaroo Island. Okay, great. We've got 12 ships in port. Let's go see what those are. We've got an AP. We got a tanker, the Sun Chaser. Let's take that Sun Chaser, the tanker, and let's put that in Melbourne. You know what? Actually, let's do this. Let's send it with these guys. Um, Tell you what, I'm going to send the AO as well. Let's put them all in Melbourne. So, yeah, they're a little protect. We'll see his big task force coming. Now, what you got to watch out for out here, of course, are submarines. He may get a submarine out here. We've got a lot of ASW floating around out here. So I'd like to believe that we've got this covered, but you never quite know. Also, I want this to go on a coastal route. I want it to go right next to the land and bring it in here as fast. You can see this is one pulse, so it's about what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where it'll be at the end of next turn, or at the start of the next turn. It'll be here and then straight into Melbourne. Okay, that looks good. That's that task force. Think there was much else in here that I wanted to take with. We've got a bunch of APs, but I'm going to save those. I mean, Eventually, we'll probably need some for Australia or New Zealand, but we really don't need them now. Where are we going to go? I mean, we can go try to get over to Port Moresby, but probably get blown the heck out. So, right now, and we've also got some over here already. So, right now, I'm going to leave these as is. How much are these worth? 8 points, the Mercur, so 7,700. Endurance, that's worth 8. The Narana is worth 8. How much are these worth? Those are worth 12. You can tell if it has more endurance, maybe more speed, more capacity, they're worth more points, as should be. We've also got these AGs over here, these tenders. I'm just going to leave them here, the Luckenbachs. We won't need those until later, so they may as well just sit here in Adelaide. Okay, so we got the one group of ships coming down. We got one guy going over to Kangaroo Island to supply it. In Portland, we've got a base force and some coastal artillery. Fine. Geelong, we have a base force. Okay. Portsea, we've got some ships out here actually. Now, where are these going? They're coming into Melbourne. So this was the first group that I sent over. The Australia, the Leander, and then so these other ones are going to follow along behind to Melbourne. One thing I want to do then is take this and we'll transfer the destroyer out, the Paul Jones. Okay, I want that in there. That's a speed 10. We'll just put it in there for now. And I'm going to have this auto disband. Yeah, I've already got it for auto disband. Okay. Now, why did I do? Where did the Paul Jones go? Oh, okay. Form new task force, surface combat, no. ASW combat, the Paul Jones, there it is. Done. And what are we going to do? We're going to meet task force and we're going to have it come back up here and give a little ASW support to that task force because those were, cruisers, light cruisers. They don't have any ASW. I mean, if we look at this task force, the cruisers, none for anti-sub. Now he's a little hurt. He needs to go into a major port anyway. You can also see with the light cruisers like the Achilles, none. Okay, so anyway, we're going to get those over here into Melbourne, but I'm going to send that destroyer back out now that these guys are here. They've arrived at Melbourne and they will be disbanding when they get in there. What else do we have out here? I told you we've got some PGs that are running ASW out here. There's this one. Returning to port. Okay, he's just going back to port to replenish. Then I have this little AKL that's running down here to Launceston to drop off supply. We've got a bunch of little PGs, things like that. That's the one that's coming into port. Okay, now what do we have here? In Melbourne, not a whole heck of a lot. That's why I'm bringing forces to Melbourne. Um, We've got Level Bomber here. We've got one PG that's just refueling. He's going to merge with the task force. I've got a local mine sweep. And then, if we look at the troops, we've got the 12th Australian Brigade and the 44th Australian Battalion. All told, we've only got 114 in Melbourne right now. That's not good enough. If he can come down here and take Melbourne, he's got enough logistics for that, especially after he takes Moresby. So we're going to get up in here with quite a few troops and make sure this is defensible. I think they all should be set on combat and defend. They are. Okay, we've got no ships in port now, but we've got a lot coming back in there. Okay, and we've got the level bomber group that they're just running straight naval search out here. Okay, I've got some ships, 4 AKLs that are coming around here to Sydney. I've got them on coastal routing, and so they're going to come in here, kick over here for whatever reason, go into Sydney. Let's just put them on auto disband when they get there. That's in anticipation of the planes getting here to cover over the top. We have not seen his carrier task force coming this way, so we should have enough time to do that. So they're going up there. I think these guys are also cargo ships. They are. They've got one destroyer escort, and then these are all cargoes. They also have a minesweeper that's coming along for the ride. We're going to have them auto disband when they get into Sydney, and we'll finally have our cargo ships. So one and two, I sent both of these out of Melbourne around the corner. It's a little dangerous, I guess, but they're going to auto disband into Sydney, and then we can send them out one at a time out of Sydney to places like Namaya, Lord Howe, maybe two down to Wellington and Auckland. This is a big central hub, so we'll put a lot of planes over the top here, have them running cap over the ships in port, and then we'll just send them out down through the Tasman Sea. All right, sorry about that. Stepped away for a second. Back here. Let's check out Sydney again. Got a lot of forces here, obviously. We have level bombers running naval search. We just have them out there looking for anything. We're looking for Japanese task forces, surface task forces. I find that these level bombers, I mean, the Blenheims sometimes, and we've just got Hudsons and Weirways here. The Blenheims and the Bolos can be pretty decent for anti-sub, but honestly, you hardly ever find. So I mean, you may spot a sub, but as far as ASW bombing it, something like that, very, very seldom. So I usually have most of this run naval search out here, and you can see I've got kind of a large fan pattern with that one, and a bigger one that's got a bigger range. The Hudsons do a 10. And then these are only 6, and that's got a 10 range. Let's see what that is. And then we've got that going pretty much directly east. If we look at our troops here, well, first of all, we've only got 2 ships in port, an AMC and an AM. So we've got a minesweeper and a local minesweeper. Um, okay, we are bringing, these task forces in here, so we will start loading them up and get some planes down here over the top in the next couple of turns. If we look at the ground forces, we do have this on strat. This is the 1st Medium Artillery Regiment. I had quite a bit of artillery here, I thought, so I'm going to move this up to Brisbane, and it's just packing up. It's got another day to pack, and then it's going to whoop up the major rail to Brisbane. If we look at the other troops, everybody else is on combat and defend. We've only got a 309 here, and that's why I'm bringing some of the stuff back that we were going to send to Darwin. Had to reverse those orders. These guys are pissed out here. Like, seriously, we just took the train to the center of the country. Now we're coming all the way back. But I just thought I'd rather beef up Sydney and Brisbane, Melbourne, than Darwin. Especially with a really aggressive player, because ultimately, you may not be able to defend Darwin very well, no matter how many troops you have there. It's just so remote. It's so hard to get up here or up there. Meanwhile, you've got, all of this on major rail. And so I'm just going to defend the stuff down here in Southeast and also Townsville and Rockhampton. Okay, I mean, that's really Sydney. There's not a whole lot more to say. In Newcastle, we've got one of these mobile armored units. In Brisbane, we've got a full division, and we'll look here combat. Um, this one's still set for Luganville, this base force. I don't know if we'll ever get it out there, but it's raring to go out to Espirito Santo. We haven't been able because he brought his carrier down here, carriers, very early. We had to rail this over, and then by the time it was ready to go, well, he was here. And so I'd like to get that out to Luganville. We'll see what we see out here with our search aircraft. If we think the coast is clear, maybe we'll send that out to Luganville. Right now in Brisbane, we don't have any transport, so it's not going to do us a whole hell of a lot of good. Maybe, as a matter of fact, some of these back in Adelaide. Now that I've rethought that as we've been talking through here, you can see, like I said, there in Brisbane, why don't we take these 7,700? Why don't we Morinda? Okay, how much transport do they have? 500 and 750. Let's go back to Brisbane. Let's look at this base force there that's supposed to go to Luganville. We wouldn't have quite enough on the troop, right? It was 500 and 750, I think. And so it wouldn't be able to get the troop, I believe. I'm going to go back and check again. There we go. Yeah, 500 on the troop capacity, so he's not quite enough. What I'm going to do instead is let's form a new task force. We'll make it a transport task force. Let's get the lower value transports, the 7700s. They've all got pretty decent speeds, especially the Mercure, done. And let's take that over to Melbourne for now. First hop. We may eventually come around here, but that 20, that Mercure, it's only I say only, but it's an 8-point ship. It's not the end of the world if you lose it. We don't want to, but if we did, it's not game over. Um, so let's bring it to Melbourne first, then maybe to Sydney, then maybe to Brisbane, and we'll get that moving out. I hope, anyway, to Espiritu Santo, Luganville. Luganville is the capital out there on that island. We've got, again, 3 level bomber groups. We've got Hudsons and Weirways. Okay, very consistent. Okay, you see the Weirways. You see this search arc. That's some of the Hudsons. This is not a very big squad. It's only 3. And then finally, I think this is what, 3 more? And we've got them just doing general search. Yeah, we got them doing general search. I hate to do general search when it's half ocean, half land, because, I mean, what's the point of flying over here, right? So let's look at this one. It's 50 to 80. Okay. Why don't we make this one 40 to 70, and then we'll make the other one 70 to 100. And that way, we're covering it like it's 6 planes, 70 to 100, range 10. Yeah, now he's going to go this way. The other one's right here. We get pretty good coverage there. I mean, to the north, up this way, northeast, is really where we want to look. Straight east and northeast. So that looks good. In Brisbane, as I said, we've got this division here, 249, but we're bringing a lot of other stuff around here to try to beef that up. I'd like to get that to at least 400, maybe 500. You can see we've got something coming down the road, one of these armored units. This is going to help. This is going to Brisbane. That's a 101. That puts us well over 300. So I'm going to put that in there. As we go to Bundaberg, we've got another one of these mobile units, smaller one, 19, and it's just sitting here at Bundaberg. Now, Rockhampton, we talked about this before in one of our previous episodes. I find that some Japanese players like to say, well, I know that you're going to beef up Townsville. I'm going to come to Rockhampton. We cut Townsville and Cairns and Cookton off that way, and we're a little closer to Brisbane and whatnot. So I like to beef up Rockhampton where we can. Right now, I've only got a 104 there. We may take that one big cavalry unit that's coming down the rail here and put this in Rockhampton, actually. We shall see. So, I mean, we've got 3 different units in here. We also have these level bombers. There's 7 of them. They're Hudsons. We've got them out here on this search pattern. I like that. You can see I brought some of the American subs that made it out of Manila. I brought them down to Sydney to get repaired. They're all fixed up. The Pollock, the Pompano, and the Thresher. They're all very similar. I mean, the Thresher's a little faster, I guess. We're going to go park them right in front of Townsville. I'm going to have them on remain on station so they don't move because their home port is all the way back at Sydney. We've got them on the max react. So if anything tries to come in here by Townsville, in this one area, we've got subs here, 3 of them, a nice little, I don't know if you'd call that a full wolf pack, but at least it's more than 1 sub, it's 3, and we're going to have that protect Townsville. I would also like to get some more American subs down here, maybe in front of Rockhampton, Brisbane, etc. Let's go to Bowen first. That was Rockhampton. Let's go to Bowen. We got another one of these mobile units, assault strength 20. Then we go to Townsville. As you can see, we've got quite a bit of air here. Do we need all of this here? Well, it's a good question. We've got 7 level bombers. These are Hudsons. These actually could be doing a lot more search than I have them doing. 50, we could be doing 3. 30 to 100. There we go. That looks better. I don't know why I had that on 20. Now that's coming out of Townsville the way we like, and we can get some of this other stuff. Now that's running 50 to 100, so it's going straight this way, but we can get some of these other guys to go help someplace else. We've got Weirways. We could put those, I don't know, up in cons, perhaps. More Weirways. Now they do not have a very good range. And then we've got some seagulls here. All right, so let's take a look at, as I've been told, it's called cons. It's not Carns, it's con. What I wanted to look at is how much aviation sport we have here. We have a lot. No, actually we don't. We have six. Yeah, we do. Okay, I'm sorry. I got confused. I looked at support required when I came across aviation sport, we have 16 in this base force. And if you hold over the base force, you can see all of its main characteristics. It's got 7 assault, 4 flak, 6 engineers, aviation sports 16, general infantry sports 30. Excellent. Okay, so we've got 16 aviation sport up here, and we've only got 3 planes. Well, why don't we take some of the Weirways out of Townsville? And there's a second reason I want to do this. If we look at aviation sport for Townsville, it's got 48. It needs 41. We've got 41 planes here. Every single plane needs a 1 point of aviation sport. If you're not, completely familiar with the game. So we've got float planes at Townsville. There's 4 of those. We could take those maybe. We've got the Weirways. I think I want to take 12 Weirways. That kind of evens things up a little bit. So let's transfer to base. Okay. And that'll put us at 15 planes up there. And maybe more, well, I don't want to say more important. Now, see, that's very nice. Now we can really see a lot of stuff that's coming through here. Because with the other group at cons, this American Patrol Squadron, they've got a long range, so but they're really specific. Looking right here, what's coming through the Solomon Sea towards Australia, and I like having that. But with the Weirways now, as you can see, we got them on a 6. That's their max range. This is nice. Now we can see anything coming at cons. Also, it protects in front of Townsville. And now if we look at cons, we've got 16 aviation sport and 15 aviation sport required, or 15 planes if you'd rather. Excellent. That's good. Let's look at. This is interesting. I kind of wanted to look at the flak. This base force has a massive flak, 24. It's got 32 aviation sport. That's nice. This has got 16 aviation sport. But if we look back at Townsville, it's now got 48, 29 required. So we still have another group that we could probably move out of here. And the reason I want to move them out is because we're going to take 25 of those fighters that come into Brisbane and put them in Townsville. And so we need to open up that kind of aviation support if we can. If we look at Rockhampton, it's got 8 aviation support, 7 required. All right, not a whole lot we could do there. What about here? What about at Bundaberg? It's got 8. Okay, that's a potential landing spot. Brisbane, how are we doing for aviation sport? We've got 64 and 21 required. But we're going to be getting all of those fighters in there. So we may just wait a turn and see. We may move one group down here to Bundaberg. That's a possibility. Bowen has a base force. Let's see what that is. Aviation support 8. So it seems that the general or usual Australian base force has 8 aviation support. So we could put 8 here, 8 there, and just go more down the coast. Again, there's our submarine. In Townsville, we have no ships in port. We have 452. So we got a lot out here. This base force support. This is the smaller one at Townsville. I've got that on strategic move. I was tempted to either take it out to Cookton Um, it's set for Townsville. I'm going to put it back on combat. Okay. Then I've got this battalion that's part of 1st Australian Corps that's supposed to go out to Port Moresby. I've got another battalion set for Port Moresby. Both of these make the division complete with what we've already got at Moresby. So if we look at the 8th Australian Division, it's not that one. As you can see, two of the brigades are in Singapore. Well, that's not going to happen. So that's 8th Australian. 30th Australian Brigade. I was wrong. It's not a full division, it's a brigade. So we've got these battalions that make it up. Two of them in Townsville. One of them's already over at Moresby, 49th. It's another reason I'm bringing some of those transports around from, to Melbourne originally, then on to Sydney, then maybe on, because if he's not right in this area, we may take a chance and try to run up there. We also need to get some supply in to Moresby. It's only at 4,000 right now. Um, Townsville, as long as these are on the rail, they're going to have really good supply. It has no AA here. I wish it did. Let's move up to cons. PALB, these are those weirways we moved up there. I really like that. We've got one of those motorized units just sitting here, doing its business. Then I've got another motorized unit that's going to Cookton. And so it's going up this road, this kind of minor road. It's gonna go around here and sit at Cookton. I just wanted to have that covered. It can always, come back, jump on the rail if it's needed. It's kind of out here on an island by itself. It's only got a 20 assault. We may take that other base force. Mm, I don't know if I want to waste one up at Cookton. If he lands at Cookton, that's like the worst place he can land in Australia for him. He doesn't have any logistics. It's got a port of one and air capacity that would have to build from a one. I mean, he's much better coming other places. That's why I always say Rockhampton always looks very enticing, I think, for a Japanese player. But we are going to move the one motorized up there just as a show me force, really. If we go over to Nomaya, I've got a bunch of ships sitting back here, just all kind of waiting. I'm waiting to see where his major surface task forces are. I've got stuff headed for Pago, Suva, Nomaya, into Auckland. I got a lot of stuff headed for Auckland. And so I'm waiting. Nomaya is really fairly uncovered for January 8th. Usually I would have a force in here, but because he brought his carriers down here, they've just been sitting back here. They've been remaining on station over here as I wait for him to clear. Now, the last we knew, his major task force was here. The last thing I want to do is have these guys come in here and just get blown away by the Kido Butai. I have a transport force here. The lure line, it doesn't have anything on it other than supply. I was actually thinking about switching this back to mission speed and then just taking it straight back to like this Penryn Island. Um, and maybe that's what I'll do. I do want to do waypoints though. So use waypoints, waypoint one. Let's just have him go this way a little bit. I just don't want him to crook around south. Like I said, I think the main Japanese task force was, or part of it was here. We're running a lot of aircraft in this area. We're not picking him up, so it's possible he went out this way. We'll see. As you can see, I've got a lot of subs coming down here. I've got subs coming into Suva. I've got this sub sitting in front of, I say this sub, there's two subs in here. So it's like a squadron of subs, four subs going to Suva. I've got this going to in front of Pago Pago. It's three more subs. These subs are not really good offensively this early in the game. The American subs, as you can see, I've got some sitting in front of Canton. I've got this one coming in front of Palmyra. What they can do is give you detection to know where things are. I've got these coming to Nomaya. They also can surprise an invasion task force and maybe get a transport or get something like that. And so we're going to let them sit out there in front of these places, let us know where certain things are, and also hopefully get a surprise, get something bagged. We'll come back through these islands probably next time. This time, let's go up through Port Moresby. As you can see, we've got a lot of aircraft up here doing various things. Port Moresby has got 22 aviation support. We have 17 planes out here. Now, sometimes when I get those fighters into Brisbane, I put 25 of them up here, and I put some of those dive bombers up here. I mean, they can really wreak havoc if the Japanese haven't played well. But as you saw, he started to knock down our airfield. He came here and bombarded. A very smart move by him because he's already got our airfield down to 3 and 6. We're building everything out here, but now it's going to have to repair itself. We've also got a supply problem out here because he did, run all of this interference, and so we don't have a lot of supplies, and we got a lot of stuff going on. We have no. Let's go back over here to Lay. Yeah, I was going to say I don't think we have any other aviation support out here, no other place to move planes in this area. So we may want to fly some of these out of here. For patrol, those are just Catalinas. These Catalinas run forever. I mean, look how big their range is. I think maybe some of these level bombers, like the Hudsons, I am going to get out of here. And let's sort by support. Maybe over to Brisbane for a moment. We could also put some in Darwin, Rockhampton. Well, we saw we had, okay, so you can see what's, at different places. Don't forget Horn Island out here in the center can take 8 planes as well. Alice Springs can take 31. I don't know if we want to fly them out that far. Catherine, we talked about Bundaberg. Let's just run them to Bundaberg for a turn or two. All right. So there go those, and everything else we have out here are, well, these are empires. Okay, those are kind of cool. This is supply transport. I've got them going over to Buna with any supply they can. 15 and 12, I could actually maybe do that out of Carnes, or Cons. Dang it. I may let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, they can get to Buna with extended range. Hmm, interesting. Now it's not allowing me to transfer. Oh, shoot. They're totally restricted. Ah, crud. I wanted to buy those out. Too bad. Okay. I've got these guys. Oh, these are more of those empires. Now these can be bought out. Interesting. Can I transfer? Yeah. Where can I go though? Oh, I can get over to like Cookton. Interesting. I said cons, right? Let's 15 of 16. Let's transfer them over there. And then we can have them run supply from the mainland. I'd rather do that. Now for right now, only one transferred because the other was damaged. But let's do supply transport to Port Moresby. Let's just try to fly. Let's fly some supply over there if we can. Now he's only got one plane at the moment, so it's not going to be a whole lot, but it's something. So let's fly that over there. I like it. He's going to be a little over on his. Did we look at this? Yeah, yeah. Oh, shoot. Sorry. That's what we transferred over. Okay, what else we got going on at Moresby? We've got those other empires. All of those two are restricted, so we've got something running dead south here. We may have to change that, or we could change south. Yeah, we're gonna have to change this to the east. So he's running to 50. This is 4. Let's run 50 to 90. I think that works. I'd love to see to the south there, but we've got other planes doing that. We want to see what's going on over here out of Moresby. I would love to see what's going on back that way, but yeah, Yeah, we got supply transport, and then the other one's going to be moving out of here soon. All right, well, that's fine. We want to see to the east. As far as assault value, we have 184 sitting here, all combat target. Now, we have those two battalions sitting in, or I'm sorry, not battalions, brigades sitting here that will make the battalion. Are they battalions? Now I'm going to go look. My bad. Battalions, yes, and they're going to go make a brigade. Okay. I've got this infantry force that has an assault value of 10. Now, it's not much. As Stanley has pointed out many times, the Japanese historically landed at Buna, so we're going to bring that down to Buna. Now, Buna has 3 in supply, so we got to fly it over there, and we got to get that going. Up at Leh has very little supply. It's got 16 assault strength between these two infantry out there. They have moved around here. They're at combat and defend. All looks good there. We've got this force trying to get back to Gazmata. We have nothing else out here. We've got Horn Island. Okay. Um, 16 total assault strength. So Torres Strait Battalion and the A Koi, which, kind of goes with the B and C Koi that's in Leh, they're sitting over here. In Kaiveng, we've got 20 in supply, so these guys are essentially getting starved out. We've got no way to get supply up there, not really. Let's look out here. Alice Springs. We've got that motorized moving back the opposite direction. And then we've got 3 infantry groups, all brigades, with pretty good av. I mean, that's a total of what, 220 almost, moving up to Darwin. Um, Okay, there's not a whole lot else to talk about up here. We've got the base force at Catherine. At Darwin itself, as you can see, I've now got a couple of subs hiding here. They're the more short-range American subs. Now, Darwin, they wouldn't be able to get resupplied right now because we do not have an AS in here. We do not have a tender. I did, but then I had it run down the coast because we didn't know where his surface fleets were. The subs are sitting right in front at this moment. At Darwin, we've got a lot of aircraft here. If we look at the aviation support, though, we got 56. That's great. We could also bring some of those fighters up here. Excuse me. Wow, I got the hiccups. 41 is what's required. Let's look at these guys. As you can see, how many ready aircraft we have. We've got Weiraways that are running naval attack. Yeah, we don't want that. Let's do naval search. Let's turn that on 50. We don't want, I mean, there's just absolutely no reason to have those on naval attack. So we've got that on naval search now. 9 planes. You see using torpedoes in red, they'll automatically switch to bombing. We're going out to the max 19, so we can see everything, we hope anyway, that's going on there. Then we've got more, well, we've got Catalinas here, and we've got those looking west, all right, on a naval search. And then we've got some looking up this direction. Those are also Catalinas, 7 of those looking out this way. So we've got really nice coverage for naval searches up here, all on 50 naval search. That all looks good. These level bombers, I have doing a search. They're weird ways. They don't have much, uh, range, obviously, but just right here in front of Darwin, so we can get a good look if anything's in this area. Now, they're 12. If we get into a situation where, we need fighters up here or something, we can move these. That they don't have that much utility when we've got these big searches going on. Fighters, we've got a lot of this that I switched to 224 Group RAF and got it out of Singapore. Now, a lot of people just leave them into Singapore to die. I buy them out and move them to the extent they need to be bought out and move them down here to Darwin. Because you don't have any planes in Australia and you need them. So we've got those at 15,000 feet running a 50 cap. Again, it's only a few. We've got a lot of pilots here. We actually could put some of these probably in the pool. You can see some of these guys have really nice experience. Defensiveness, pretty decent. Air, not so good. Air-to-air combat. These guys need more. I mean, they're only at a 51, and they're even worse than that in air-to-air combat. Then we've got another three planes. Two of them are in maintenance right now. Gosh darn it, a lot of pilots here. At some point, we may, well, we'll see. There's no reason to have this many Australian pilots in here, but they're running cap as well. So we have three total planes, and then the fourth plane is in maintenance. Come on, man. We've got 15 pilots sitting here. Again, we may want to release some of these pilots at some point, and I'm not going to go through here and do all. Well, is that true? Let's release 10 pilots, least experienced. We just don't need all of these guys in here. Okay, done. So let's go back and do this. Something we haven't done, right? Let's go to pilots, least experienced, 10. Yeah, that leaves us with enough. It's not like we have that many planes out here. We've got three here. So let's go to pilots, release 10 pilots. Is that going to leave us enough? Yeah, I think so. Nope, nope. Put them back into the group. That's fine, actually. 1 and 14. Let's go get two replacement pilots. These guys should have better experience. All right, so now they've got three. We've got 12 in our pool of these type of pilots. So you can start to see that as we're building up a few pilots. We've had a lot of planes shot down in Singapore, which is partially the cause of that. We've got one ship in port here. What is it? It's an AD, destroyer tender. Not necessarily the greatest place to have that, but I don't want to sail it out here. We've only got 71 in the garrison, but as I pointed out, we've got 210 coming down the road, so that'll get us close up to 300 in Darwin. All right, let's keep moving around. Wyndham, we've got a base force in Dobby. What's happening in Dobby? We've got two ships in port. Now, we don't have any fuel here. Let's put them into a task force, these AMs. We'll put them into mine sweeping. Let's put them together so one can share. That's why I brought this one here. He can share fuel with this one. All right, it's saying it has no fuel for this, but we don't need it. Let's take it to Port Hedland, and we'll have these guys sit there. Let's make that their home port. I've been dumping stuff into Port Hedland, so they should be in good shape, once they get there. So that's out of Derby. We've got a base force. That base force has some naval sport, some aviation sport. We could move some planes there. I do have some planes in Broome. How many? Oh, we've got 10 Blenheims. That's a little too many. How much do we have aviation sport do we have here? We got quite a bit in Headland, I think. No, we've only got 8. I thought we had, more in. We don't have any in this base force. I think this one got ripped up a little bit. Okay, we'll just leave these planes here. They're running a search out here. We saw the ones coming out of Darwin, so that'll be helpful in case he's just coming down here, to come around the corner towards Darwin or something. I've got all of these surface ships, the Houston, the Java, the De Ruyter, the Trump, Marblehead, Alden, and Barker. I've got those running around to Perth. Now, is that necessary? Well, I guess it depends. If I put fighters over the top here at Darwin on cap, I could keep those surface ships maybe in and around Darwin. But as it is, I think, let's be careful at this point. We'll take them around to Perth. On and on we go. Port Hedland became a very important because I had to run stuff out of Darwin. He had surface fleets down here. Now I've got the subs over here that'll tell us that, but if he brings a strong surface fleet here, he can really wreck shipping. We don't really have any place to ship to. More so, we want to ship into Darwin. And so I'm going to run some missions, with 1 or 2 point ships up to Darwin because Darwin right now only has 4366 in supply. That's not great. We have 4 destroyers here at Port Hedland that we're going to take to Perth. So we'll get a nice surface fleet around there once all this gets over there. I've got these guys coming into Port Hedland to drop off some supply here. So a 1 point ship. I believe this is a 2 point ship, the Gorgon. No, it's a 5 point ship. Wow, I got a little crazy, didn't I? The Gorgon. Oh, okay. I need these two to actually combine. I see why I did that now. Let's transfer the Gorgon in here. So he has a little bit of fuel, and then they're going to head right back to Perth. Oh, hold on. No refuel. Do not refuel. There we go. Okay, so he's going to come in, drop off at Headland. I've already got the destroyers there, and then I've got this group that's unloading. So we're unloading fuel here, actually. So we have a little fuel, little supply in at Port Headland. Then I've got this group. This is supposed to meet something, I believe. It's meeting 221. Where is Task Force 221? I think it might be this. No? Is it the destroyers? Maybe. No. Oh, goodness. Where is 221? There it is. Okay. Okay, so I'm just putting this has got a lot of damaged ships. These are our tenders, so this group is meeting this group, and then they're moving down to Perth. We've got all of these tender type stuff, including a couple of ASs that are moving down to Perth. So as you can see, I just moved everything around, and then as we see what's taking place at Darwin, we may move some of this back, or we may take some of this and move it all the way around to the East Coast. You need some of this stuff over there anyway. Um, We've got a bunch of AKLs. They're almost all out of fuel. I've got them, heading into Perth, uh, and then we'll see what we're going to do with them from there. Again, a lot of this was evacuation out of either the Dutch East Indies or out of Darwin. These guys are just sitting here. Let's Wait a minute. Oh, we're not into port yet. When we get into port, it's going to auto disband, including a little AO. We also have these two AKs. They're coming into Perth. They're going to auto disband, and then we'll figure out what to do with them. If we look at Perth itself, obviously super important. We've got a 379 on the garrison, including a full 4th Australian Division. I've actually got a couple of other things coming out here. I really like to protect Perth and make sure we've got it locked down. We've got an AM out here, a local minesweeper. We've got two groups of level bombers that are just running naval search out here in case anything comes too close. Perth, we have 40 aviation support, so we could move some bombers or even fighters over here if things get a little prickly. We have 18 ships here, including a bunch of little AKLs. I think what we'll do, let's do this by type. All right, so we've got a DD, the ISIS here. You can see we've got a lot of fuel and especially a lot of fuel because we've been dumping fuel in here. Let's load the tenders. All right, only one ship needed that. Let's refuel. Only one ship needed that, and that was the ISIS. All right, so let's go ahead and form a new task force and make it a cargo task force, and we'll take the ISIS and we'll take these little 1 point ships. Right, the Walling Bar. That looks good. We'll take 4 of these. Done. We're going to dock it. Let's load supplies. Okay. And let's take that around to Darwin and try to get in there if we can. I feel better now that the submarines are over there. At least alert us if anything is close. Let's do that coastal so it's right up against the coast. Just move right by land. And if we have to just dump into one of these ports really fast, we can do that. Okay, we've got 13 more ships in port. What else do we have here? A bunch of small APs. We certainly don't really need these here. So let's do a transport. There we go. Transport task force. All right, let's do 4,000, 4,000 for the. Okay, all these are kind of the same. Let's take out anything that's already in a task force. We also have AGPs, AGs out here. We'll look at the support here in a minute. I do want to keep the Woolger here and just have that run up to the small places here. The Jansons, the AS, the submarine tender. I'm tempted to send it along with this and put it in Darwin. I mean, if we lose it, we lose it. But let's go ahead and well, I'm not sending this to Darwin. Well, there's my answer, but could send it with the cargo. So let's bring these all the way around to Melbourne. This is where we would need transport, certainly not over at Perth. We just don't have any troops to transport, and if we do, they're all going to go by rail. So we're going to have those go to Melbourne initially. All right, so they're out of here. These AKLs. Yeah, I can't put the Jansons in there with it. I really want a submarine tender up here at Darwin. I've got two of them coming down here in other task forces. I do think let's look at the Jansons really quickly. It's a 6-point ship. We got it all loaded up. Hmm. We've also got a gunboat tender, two of them, and we've got just a miscellaneous tender. Let's do a support. We'll take it up there. If nothing else, maybe we'll put it in like Port Hedland. That's not usually a place that most Japanese players bother with. Hedland has got a what size port? It's got a 2. All right, let's send it to Headland first, and we'll make that its home port. No, I mean, there's really no reason to have a submarine tender at Perth. There might be later on if he takes all the northern coast up there. Yeah, we'll just have it go up here regularly. We'll have it auto disband into port. That's what you always want to do with tenders. Okay. We got 6 left ships here. Yep, these are all tenders. We've also got the Walger. I'm not going to send that out this time. I'm going to wait for some of these other ships to get here and auto disband. Now, here's your line of things coming in and out of Cape Town, including the city of Exeter, which is a massive, I say massive, pretty dang big supply cargo ship. 6,400. It's at full capacity. It's going CS Perth on a do not refuel. I like that. It'll unload supply and right back out. Then we have this heading to Cape Town. This is a big AK group. As a matter of fact, it's like ships with the city of Exeter going this way. Maybe when the Exeter gets unloaded here, we'll say meet this and try to catch up with it. Here's another big task force coming in with a light cruiser here, the Hobart. Wow, look at that, 8130. These are big cargo ships here. I don't like them coming out or in, I'm sorry, without destroyer escort. We do have a destroyer, the Stewart here. So let's go ASW combat, make a new task force. We'll pull the Stewart because this is outbound, right? We took it out of Perth, that's fine. Now we're going to take this Stewart. Come on now. Stewart. Cape Town, Cape Town. Sometimes this is an old game. Let's get off this for a second and let's come back. I'm trying to get this to merge with that other task force. Let's see if we can do it now. Okay. Let's set a different bearing for it. Let's say Perth, and let's say its home is Perth. Okay. Now then, yeah, now it'll let me meet this task force and bring it in with some anti-sub. If Lodric is down here, the Japanese are down here, it's going to be by a sub, right? So let's get some destroyers in there. We're going to have that merge. With that, okay, the other one, let's make sure it's still going to Cape Town, and it is. Cape Town straight across. You can see here, big shipping lane. Here's another group going out. Oh, it's just one AK. He's going to Cape Town, and then we've got 4 other cargo ships all going to Cape Town. Speaking of Cape Town, let's just make sure we've got nothing up here. We've got a couple of small ships up here, but he seems to have kind of abandoned this. Now, I don't know where his big task force went. We thought we saw them go through the strait here, so maybe they're, well, maybe this is them. or part of them. It's 3 ships here. He also had something moving up here. But let's go to Cape Town very quickly. Before we do, though, what is this task force? All right, this is the Moreton Bay, and that's moving to Aden. This is a very good transport ship. It's worth 21 points. It's moving up the side of the map to Aden to go pick something up. We'll see what. Here's a task force. This is one of the ones that ran. We've got it going to Diego Garcia, where we're going to try to refuel it. I don't think it can get, well, yeah, it can. 45 hexes to Diego Garcia. It's got 59 left. And so I've got replenishment ships heading to Diego Garcia for several things, actually. We will look at the Cocos really quick. AMC, AMC. In port, we have an AVP, a float plane tender. I don't know. We could probably pull these out of here. We're probably not going to put planes on either one. Maybe we will next turn. Moving up, we've got other stuff out here. We'll look at that maybe some other time. Whoa, we went too far. Hold on. Hold on. Man, Cape Town's a lot further up here than I thought. All right, we got 21 ships in port. Wow. Okay, we've got the tanker. This is loading fuel, and then it's heading to Bombay, and we'll do a minimal refuel once it gets there. We'll dump into Bombay. We could also dump into Colombo, but then it doesn't get into the Indian processing system. You do that through Karachi or Bombay, maybe Calcutta, but we're going to take this to Bombay. These 2 APs are just sitting here in case we get anything into Cape Town that we need to move. This group just got here, and if we look, 77,000 supply, only 8609 on the fuel at Cape Town. Now, I've got a lot of ships coming from the east coast of the United States that could help fix that, but they're not here yet. These all have 14 speed. Big endurances. This one's a little mismatched with the others, but they've got the same speed, so it doesn't really matter. We're docked. Let's load supply. Okay. And we're going to take that to Perth, and we just keep doing that over and over. Cape Town to Perth. All right. We're going to have that do not refuel because it's got it's a 278 hex round trip. It's got 330 of fuel. Okay, on to the next one. This is the tanker. Now, we just said we don't have much fuel out here, so he's just going to have to sit here for a turn. Then we have some other AKs. Now these only have a 12 speed. Um, these might be good to go into Colombo. We're already docked. Let's load supplies and let's take these to Colombo. Always want to be dumping into Colombo. You can see a lot of traffic heading back and forth to Colombo. Okay, now we can take a look, and as you can see, we got a lot of new APs here. Really nice ones too. 18 speed, 18,000 endurance. They could go from the US East Coast, they can go from Aden all the way to Australia. And I think these two with the 18,000, we want to take those to Aden. Let's transport. Okay, we'll just do endurance, sort by endurance. Oh, the one has a lot better speed than the other, 18 and 14. Huh. Okay. Let's take this one then, the Duntroon, and we'll move that. I can't remember if we have to take it off map first. Yeah, we have to, or I'm sorry, we have to put it on the map first before we can take it up to the off map. It has to move through the Indian Ocean. So let's have that go into Bombay originally. That brings it way north, which is good. And then we'll set its home port, and you can see it comes in way over here. We'll set its home port as Aden, so then it'll just retire up to Aden. Let's take the, let's do another transport. Done. All right, let's do endurance. And since these guys, even those one, okay, they're both APs actually. Oh God, I did not mean to do that. Get out of there, Duntroon. Uh, these two, one's an AK, one's an AP, but they've got similar speeds and very close endurance. So let's actually do the same with them. We'll send them to Bombay, and then we'll have them retire to Aden. Okay. Retired A. There we go. Always make sure you click right on the flag, otherwise it doesn't work. It's very sensitive that way. Let's look at this and make sure I didn't screw this up. The Duntroon. No, I didn't. Bombay and Aden. They'll get a full refuel in Bombay. That's fine. We've got a lot of fuel there. What else do we have out here? We have got a couple of APs. We've got a nice AP here. Okay, we've got just a massive amount of AKs. Also got this AK that's got a little better endurance. Usually I like these to be in Abaddon with that kind of endurance, or on the US East Coast, as a matter of fact. Why don't we do that? Let's do cargo, done. 16,800. Wow, okay, not that one. Take off anything that's in a task force. Where'd that go? That's the Passander. That's also 16,800. Okay. And the Michael Golandris? Sure. Done. And let's send these to the U.S. East Coast. With that kind of endurance, I like them to go to the U.S. East Coast. You can see we're starting to get a lot of ships over here. And we'll just go U.S. East Coast to Cape Town to Perth. It's a little bit longer, but it's a lot safer than going US West Coast to Sydney. Okay, that's in there. And now let's do form a new task force, cargo, done. Let's look for like ships here. Got these two. These are nice. These could also go to the US East Coast, as a matter of fact. 15,800. I like that. Let's take them. You know, if they're fast, they've got a big cargo capacity, um, you know, a big endurance. I like them to go East Coast to Cape Town or Abaddon, or maybe Cape Town to Perth. But I put these other ships Cape Town to Perth, kind of the more. I don't want to call them disposable, but they're just every day you see these 12,000, 12, and 3,900. I mean, that's just like your basic cargo ship. Cargo, okay. Now then, those are a little faster. We may keep these here to go with transport. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I think we've got like 5 more done. And we'll dock that. We'll load supply. And then we'll have it head to Perth. Okay. Can it get there and back? It can. It's all in green, meaning it takes 139 to get to Perth, 139 to get back, 278, and it's got 300 endurance. Perfect. Oh, do not refuel. That's why I was looking at that. Okay. And then let's do one more big cargo. Done. And 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. All right. So we'll have 6 in this one. Done. See, all identical. Cannot dock because of port sizes, because we've got that other big task force in there right now. But we'll just set it up to load supplies when there's room at the dock. It will slowly fill even if you're not docked, but it's obviously much faster to be docked. It'll automatically dock when the other one is done or undocks. Do not refuel. Let's look back at Cape Town. What do we have left? We have one or two APs, two AKs. I like that. All right, I'm going to call that an episode. When we come back next time, I promise you we'll go up through Java. I've been spending time in Australia. We'll also, oh, I did want to say before we go, there's the Hermes. Hermes, I've been told by certain Brits, the Hermes apparently is going to make it out of here. It's going on up to Bombay, which has a what's the level port? It's a 6. But I'm trying to build it into a 7 so we can have our capital ships up here. They can rearm very quickly, but it does have a little bit of shipyard. So we're going to take the Hermes up there. So that's coming. We've got a bunch of surface ships back here, the extra enterprise, you know, we've got 2 KVs in here with them, but it looks like this is all going to get out. So kind of no harm, no foul. I also did want to cover this very quickly. I just remembered I hadn't done this yet. Look how many more sorties that Lodric has run than us. Almost 50,000 more sorties. You will not see this when you play the AI. Generally, you'll be ahead of him on sorties from, you know, the jump. Um, okay, so let's look through this. Air-to-air losses yesterday, or the prior turn, I should say, 3-3. Okay. Destroyed on the field, we've had 74. Well, that's to be expected. I mean, we're not getting any that are just stupid. It's in the Philippines. It's stuff we haven't bought out. Destroyed by flak, none. We took one operational loss. He took two. So that all looked okay. Political points, I spent a bunch this time. I bought out a bunch of stuff on the U.S. West Coast, and I'm shipping it into the Pacific. We'll talk about that in a future episode. Japanese score, he's up to 77.89. We're stuck at 95.37. That's only going to get worse. He's going to get ahead of us when he takes Singapore, and Jakarta. Jakarta now was Batavia. When he takes some of these places, he's going to jump in front of us. Especially, I think Singapore's worth 1,800 points to us. But there's nothing we can do about that. If you look down here, bases controlled, 537 to essentially 300. So that's where we're getting the vast majority of our points. We've lost, this is point value, 538 to 300. Army point loss, 2,500 to 30. I've never seen that before. He's bombing us very effectively in China and then destroying our units. Got to be careful there. We've had 266 six ships sunk. I think he's had a few more than that, but we got fog of war. Again, we're getting, let's just say this was 300. The average would be about 6 points a ship. It's not quite 300, so it's like 7 points a ship. That's okay. We get a lot of 7 and 8 point ships. You can see we just got 12 new massive cargo ships in at Cape Town. That being said, if it comes down to points, that hurts. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. Um, okay, let's look at ships sunk last turn. You can see this is all very, very good. We've gotten this well under control now. The pickerel did go down, but that got hit a long time ago in Manila, or around Manila, I should say. So off the coast of the Philippines. 8 points, it finally sunk. And then we just lost a bunch of 1 point, you know, PT boats, motorboats. These are launches. I mean, they have torpedoes. They have some, yeah, they've got some of these Mark or 18-inch Mark 12 torpedoes, so they can be dangerous if you have them sitting in a port and he brings in a transport group. But the places where he hit, that wasn't really an option. I mean, so those were all around Puerto Princesa, places like that. So anyway, this has been Strategy Gaming Dojo. When I talk to you next time, we'll go through the combat resolution for this turn, this turn will be January 8th, January 9th. Anyway, have a good one. Talk to you next time.